Hi everyone, welcome to week 5 of English class. I hope everyone's doing well, having a good summer, and also keeping up with your videos, I hope. So before we get started on what we're doing today, I want to review what we talked about last week. So if you watched last week, I want you to think back, try to remember what we did, and if you can remember, say it out loud for me. So last week, we watched the video about, it was a short story about if you were president. The kids were reading the story, we followed along with it. We had a couple questions throughout, and then at the end, we filled out the worksheet about main ideas and then smaller facts that you found. So we're going to be reading something today, not like the story we did last week, but it's going to be a little bit similar where we have to pick things out from the story. Last week, we were more looking for information that was directly in the story, so picking out facts that they gave us. But this week, we're going to be talking about making inferences. So you may have heard that word before, you may have not, but I want you to either tell me or just take a guess out loud. What does it mean to make an inference? So making an inference is kind of like you're assuming something, or if you think of it in the context of a story, you're looking at the information they give you and you're drawing a conclusion based off that. So a lot of the questions that we have today, we're not going to be able to go look back in our story and just find the answer. We have to infer what the author is trying to tell us. So I do have a short video for us to watch that explains it a little bit more what it means to make an inference. So I'm going to share that with you. Just a little over a minute.
All right, you guys, pull over. That's the bank's money right there. I caught you red-handed. You're going to spend a long time behind bars.
Cut! They're not going to jail. That's not in the script.
Are you serious?
Check it out. First, you leap onto their car and yell, "All right, you guys, pull over." And then you say, "That's the bank's money right there." Then I caught you red-handed. Then nothing. See, there is no line about spending time behind bars.
I guess I made an inference. I mean, look. The alarm is going off at the bank. They're running from the police. And they have bags of cash from the bank in the car.
So right there, this actor is saying he guesses he made an inference. And then he gave us 3 different pieces of information that we saw happening in the movie or the TV show they're acting out. So he's making an inference based on what he knows. He didn't actually know they would be spending time in jail.
I made an inference that they were going to jail because of what they did.
You made an inference? What on earth are you talking about?
Well, I read the text. I thought about what I know, and so I made an inference.
Oh, now I get it. Of course. In real life, they'd have to be arrested and charged. And there'd be a trial and lawyers. And before we knew for sure, they were going to jail.
What if I say, you guys are going to need a good lawyer?
Yes, that works for me. All right, everyone. We'll do it again.
Okay, so kind of just a fun video there to review what it means to make an inference, or maybe it's a new topic to you. So I hope that helped you understand a little bit that when we make an inference, we're using the information we know and then drawing our own conclusion from that information. So what we're going to do today is we're going to apply what we learned in that video, and we're going to be reading this story and answering some questions. So you should have this in your resource bag. It's called The Finish Line, and there's 2 pages. So we're going to be working on this together. I want everyone to get that out. And we're going to be making some inferences. So since some of you may not know much about inferences or it's kind of a new topic to you, we are going to read it together, do the questions together for the most part. And then at the end, I'm going to ask you to answer some of them for me. So make sure you're paying attention throughout so that you can answer those on your own at the end. And let's go ahead and read our directions. So directions say, read the short story below, read it again, but this time do a close read. Answer the questions below the story. So how many times are we reading our story? Tell me out loud. Two times for our story. So our first read, we're just reading to enjoy the story and see what they have to tell us. And it is called The Finish Line. Simon waited at the finish line, a large sign in his hands. He felt anxious and excited as he peered into the sunlight, looking for that familiar face. He glanced down at his sign and smiled. He had stayed up late the night before to make it. It would be fun to hold it up high and shout, "Congratulations, you did it!" Simon looked up again and finally saw him coming from around the bend, his legs strong and swift as he ran forward. Simon jumped up and down and held his sign high. He felt so proud. What a great accomplishment. Congratulations, you did it. Okay. So you may have noticed that story doesn't give us a ton of information. We know Simon's at a finish line. We don't know what kind of race it was, who he was there for. So this is where making inferences comes in. And we're going to take a look at our questions and then go back and read again. So question 1 asks us, what is one thing you know about Simon? Number 2, what is one thing you do not know about Simon? That's where we have to make an inference. And 3, Simon is waiting for someone. What is that person doing and how do you know? And then on the second page, who could Simon be waiting for? Number 5, what is a clue that makes you think this? And then number 6, in the box below, draw and color a picture of this short story. Be sure to add as much detail as you can to your picture. So we have an idea of our questions now and what they're looking for us to answer. We're going to go back and do another read. I want you to follow along with me again. Okay, the finish line. Simon waited at the finish line, a large sign in his hands. He felt anxious and excited as he peered into the sunlight, looking for that familiar face. He glanced down at his sign and smiled. He had stayed up late the night before to make it. It would be fun to hold it up high and shout, "Congratulations, you did it!" Simon looked up again and finally saw him coming from around the bend, his legs strong and swift as he ran forward. Simon jumped up and down and held his sign high. He felt so proud. What a great accomplishment! Congratulations, you did it! Okay. So I know when I was reading the second time, I definitely saw some of the answers that we have to find for our questions. So hopefully you did too, just by knowing the keywords to look for. So we're going to start going through together to answer these. So number 1, what is one thing you know about Simon? I want you to look back, try to answer it on your own first. And I want you to write in a complete sentence one thing you know about Simon. So you could say Simon is, and then say something that you know about him after reading the story. So this question, you're not making an inference, you're just saying something you already know that's in the story. Okay. I'll give you a few more seconds to answer that one. So what I said for that one, using the evidence I had in the story, I said, Simon is waiting at a finish line and holding a sign. So you may have said something like that, could have been something else. As long as you found it in the story. You could have said Simon is proud of his friend. Simon is cheering for his friend at the end of the story. Anything like that works. Okay, number 2. What is one thing you do not know about Simon? So the way you go about this question is look back at the story, see what you learned about him. Where did you have a question? Like for me, a question I had was, what kind of race is Simon watching? Is Simon friends with the person running the race? I want you to come up with a question like that, and you can say, think of your question. Then how you would answer it is you would say, I do not know, and then say what you don't know. So for me, I would say, I do not know what type of race this is. Because we learned that whoever he's watching is running. But I'm wondering, is it a marathon? Is it just 3 miles? It could be a 1-mile race. So I could say, I do not know what type of race this is and how long it is, or how long it is. So I want you to think about something like that you don't know about Simon. It can also just be about the story in general, something that you don't know. Things we don't know about him. We don't know how old he is. We don't know what he looks like. We don't know if he likes to run too. So come up with anything like that you don't know for number 2. And then if you need more time, you can pause. We're going to go on to number 3. Simon is waiting for someone. What is that person doing, and how do you know? I want you to answer this one by yourself, and we'll go over the answer in about a minute. More than likely, you should have 2 sentences. Okay. So I want you to tell me your answer out loud. I'll tell you mine, and then see how well they match up and what you could change. So go ahead and say your answer. Okay, my answer was Simon is waiting for someone who is running. And then it asked, how do you know that? I said, the passage states that his legs are strong and swift as he runs forward. And then a good idea for this one is to go back in the passage and circle the evidence that you used to figure out what he was doing. So that was the part where I definitely knew he was running, when he says his legs were strong and swift as he ran forward. So I circled that part and I used it in my answer. So anything like that, what helped you to figure out he was running, works for that one. Just make sure that you prove your answer. Okay, and then next question. Who could Simon be waiting for? So this one, you're making an inference. You can go back, reread the story. You're looking for kind of like hints or ways you can figure out who this person is to Simon. And I want you to write your answer for that one. So just write your answer down. And then we're not going to go over that one yet. Number 5, what is a clue that makes you think this? So you have to go back in the story and you're trying to find facts that support your answer that you put for number 4. So why did you put that answer? What evidence from the story helped you figure that out? And I want you to write your answer for that one. Okay. We're not going to go over those two together. But what I do want us to do together is number 6. So it says, in the box below, draw and color a picture of this short story. Be sure to add as much detail as you can to your picture. And I know this question is more fun than the others, and it seems like it shouldn't be a question with a story. It's just for fun. But this is testing what you learned from the story and what you were able to infer. So teachers a lot of the time will just ask you to draw a picture of the story, and that tells them a lot about what you learned from it. So if I were able to see your picture, if we were in the classroom, I'd be able to see the details that you picked up on in the story. So if you just had a very basic drawing, I would think you didn't understand the story too well. But say you have a big sign that says finish, you have the sign that Simon's holding in his hand, just adding small details like that. So I want you to take a few minutes. I'm going to do it with you. I want you to draw, and if you have crayons, you can color as well. Just a picture of what you got from the story and what you visualized in your mind while you were reading it. Doesn't matter how pretty the drawing is, just as long as you get those details in there. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a couple more seconds, and then if you want to finish it up on your own, you can. We only have a few minutes left, but I'll show you what I did. It's not the best, but it can be a guide for you. So I drew the finish line right here. I'm picturing like the big banner that would be hanging up at the finish line. Here is the person who's running. We're not exactly sure who that is. I want you to give me your guess though. And then on the side, we see Simon supporting him, and I even had him saying, "You did it," to show that I understood he was saying that to the person that was running. So you can add as much as you want to your picture. If you want to come back to it later, you can do that. But what I want you to do now is for our poll question, I want you to answer number 4 and 5 in the comments. So who could Simon be waiting for? I want you to answer in a sentence. Simon is waiting for blank. Give me your answer. And then what is a clue that makes you think this? So second sentence will be, I think Simon is waiting for blank because, and then you can say something in the story that made you think that or how you figured out your answer. So number 4 and 5 will be your poll question that I want you to complete. And just to review before we're done, When you're making an inference, I want you to try to tell me out loud, how do you make an inference? Give me your answer. So when you make an inference, you're looking at the information you're given in the story and about the character, and you're drawing conclusions or coming up with an idea based off that information that you're given. So we practice doing that in a lot of our questions. The last 2 questions are requiring you to make an inference, especially number 4. So again, put that in the comments along with any questions you might have about today or making inferences. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and good luck with the rest of your lessons. Bye.